Title: Blood and Honor, a Creek War Story. Prologue. The year was 1813, and the frontier burned with violence. The Fort Mims Massacre left over 500 settlers and militiamen dead, their bodies scattered among the ruins. The Red Stick faction of the Creek Nation had risen in defiance against American expansion. Among the survivors was Nathaniel Carter, a seasoned frontiersman who returned home to find his wife and child slaughtered. With nothing left but vengeance, he vowed to take up arms and hunt down those responsible. On the other side of the war stood Chenoa, a young Creek woman who had seen the bloodshed firsthand. Though her people fought for survival, she could not ignore the growing brutality on both sides. As warriors called for total war, she questioned whether there could ever be peace. Caught between her family and the encroaching tide of American forces, she would have to make a choice that would define her future. Chapter 1. Rising Flames. Nathaniel joined Andrew Jackson's militia, marching into the Alabama wilderness to crush the Red Stick Uprising. He was no soldier, but his skill with a rifle and knowledge of the land made him valuable. Among his unit were farmers, traders, and vengeful men like himself, all eager to strike back. Meanwhile, Chenoa followed her brother, a respected Red Stick warrior named Chenoa, as they prepared for battle. He believed in driving the Americans from their lands, but Chenoa feared the cost of such a war. The divide between the Red Sticks and those Creeks who sought peace widened with every passing day. Chapter 2. The Battle of Tallushatchee. Jackson's forces struck first, attacking the Creek village of Tallushatchee. Nathaniel's unit surrounded the town, cutting off any escape. When the shooting started, it did not stop until every warrior was dead. Women and children lay among the slain. Nathaniel felt his thirst for revenge wane as he witnessed the horror before him. This was not war, it was slaughter. Chenoa arrived too late, finding the village in ruins. Among the dead was a friend she had grown up with. Her hatred for the Americans deepened, but she also saw that war had stripped both sides of their humanity. She vowed to find another path, one that did not end in senseless destruction. Chapter 3. Secrets in the Shadows. Chenoa began to serve as a scout and spy, gathering information on the movements of Jackson's army. She moved through the forests like a ghost, avoiding detection as she carried messages between Red Stick leaders. One night, she overheard a conversation that could change the course of the war. The Americans were planning a major assault on the Red Stick stronghold at Horseshoe Bend. Nathaniel, now a seasoned warrior, had been assigned to track enemy scouts. He moved through the woods with precision, hoping to catch an informant. Fate intervened when he stumbled upon Chenoa, who had just gathered crucial intelligence. Their eyes met across the darkness, and for a moment, neither moved. Then, Chenoa ran, forcing Nathaniel to make a choice: shoot her down or let her go. He hesitated, and she disappeared into the trees. Chapter 4. A Fateful Encounter. Days later, a chance encounter in the forest brought them face to face again. This time, neither could run. Nathaniel held her at gunpoint, but Chenoa did not beg for her life. Instead, she spoke of the war's brutality and the senseless deaths they had both witnessed. Nathaniel, for the first time, saw his enemy as something more than a faceless foe. Chenoa, in turn, saw that not all Americans were driven by blind hatred. They parted ways without bloodshed, but the meeting haunted them both. Chenoa wondered if her people were truly on the right path, while Nathaniel questioned whether revenge was worth the cost. Chapter 5. The Battle of Horseshoe Bend. The time for reflection ended as Jackson's army launched its final assault on Horseshoe Bend. Over 1,000 Red Stick warriors prepared to defend their stronghold, knowing there would be no reinforcements. Chenoa stood among them, torn between loyalty and the fear that this would be their end. Nathaniel marched with Jackson's forces, his rifle loaded and ready. The battle erupted in chaos. Cannon fire shattered the Creek defenses, and soldiers stormed the fortifications. The fighting was brutal, with no quarter given. Nathaniel cut down warriors who charged at him, but his heart was no longer in it. Across the battlefield, he saw Chenoa fighting to protect the wounded. Their eyes met once more amid the carnage. As the red sticks fell, Chenoa knew the war was lost. She grabbed her wounded brother and fled into the forest, but Nathaniel followed. When she turned to face him, he did not raise his weapon. Instead, he lowered it and let her go. The war had taken enough lives. For the first time, he chose mercy. Chapter 6: A World Forever Changed. With the red sticks crushed, the Creek War came to an end. Jackson's victory solidified American control over the territory, forcing surviving Creeks to surrender their lands. Nathaniel, though hailed as a hero, felt no triumph in their defeat. He had won his war, but lost himself in the process. Chenoa, now a refugee, wandered the broken remains of her homeland. She had lost everything: her people, her family, and the world she had once known. Yet, she held on to the belief that peace could still be found. She would survive, not for vengeance, but to ensure her people's story was not forgotten. Epilogue: Blood and Honor. Years later, Nathaniel and Chenoa met one last time. Time had changed them, but the memory of war remained. Though they had fought on opposite sides, they shared an understanding few could comprehend. As they parted ways, Nathaniel vowed to tell the true story of the Creek War, not one of victory, but of loss, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of those who had fought for their land. And so, the echoes of war faded, but the story of those who fought would never be forgotten.